So guys, we did it. We found one of the next so bad it's good movies, kind of. This is After Last Season.
Inside a research company, scientists are developing a technology that changes the thoughts of a person into pictures.
I'm taking a class taught by Robert Bree in the spring.
Matthew Andrews and Sarah Austin are university students learning to become neurosurgeons.
Is that you?
If you can see a murder before it happens, we can do something about the next one.
What can I do?
After Last Season.
I only heard about this movie recently, and apparently it goes back to 2009. I remember hearing that that's when the movie started doing rounds on the internet with a bunch of people conspiring as to what exactly happened, because the movie supposedly has such a large budget, and a bunch of theories came out about that. There were a bunch of online groups that were dedicated to people who had seen this movie and wanted to talk about it, and for a while it became like this big underground bad movie that everyone talked about. Now I've sat through it, and now I get to talk about it. Two neurology students conduct a telepathy experiment to identify a murderer. Whoever wrote this description on Google, I give you a serious amount of credit for actually finding a plot in this movie. 1.6 out of 10 on IMDb. That is pretty appropriate. So, describing this movie is a little bit difficult because nothing really happens in it. Even more so than Manos: The Hands of Fate. Manos: The Hands of Fate is at least okay, this is point A, point B, point C. This movie just kind of starts and then just kind of stops. Saying this movie is some kind of artsy-fartsy hipster student project I don't think is accurate, but also saying that this is some kind of self-aware, just troll on the audience doesn't even feel accurate either. Like I said, that's why there are so many theories as to what was the purpose of this movie, why was it made, and it's interesting in that regard, but the movie itself, you sit down and watch it, there's only one word to describe it, and that's boring. I'm just going to describe what happens, and I think you can try and piece together how this is a plot in any way. So yeah, here we go. The movie starts in what is clearly someone's guest room of their house, but it's supposed to be a hospital MRI scan room. And then we just kind of jump back and forth between a bunch of different people. First, we focus on these doctors that are working there, and then we see some people who live in what I'm assuming is supposed to be an apartment, even though the hallway sets kind of just look like the basement of a factory that was abandoned or something. I say that because the walls don't look like they're painted, and a lot of the time you'll see cardboard or pieces of paper taped to the wall to try and make it look like it was completed.
Started moving on Monday. My apartment's down the hall. Yeah, the landlord told us there'd be new tenants.
And we focus on some of the people that are living in this apartment complex, assuming that's what it's supposed to be. And they just kind of talk about different things that are going on in their lives. Not that you really care. I mean, it's not like we really follow any of these characters and what they do. A lot of this movie is a lot like Manos and the first half of Birdemic and movies like that, where it's just kind of people talking about things rather than doing things. I just have to apologize from Justin to Kelly for saying that movie felt like it was written by space aliens trying to replicate a movie. That's what this is. That's what this kind of feels like. This, even more so than any other so bad it's good movie out there. Even more than The Room, which feels like it was made by a space alien. It's even more so. There's terrible dialogue in this movie all throughout. I mean, there are scenes I've never been to that town, but I've been through that town. Terrible dialogue like that. It does make me kind of flashback to some of the other so bad they're good movie directors out there, like Tommy Wiseau or James Nguyen. They tried pulling the, oh, well, we intentionally made a bad movie, or, oh, yeah, we were trying to make, a real movie, but, it eventually found its audience, or something like that. I think out of all the so bad it's good movie directors out there, I think the only few that came forward that I can think of are the guy that did Manos. I mean, he straight up said, yeah, I was just a farmer, and I just wanted to direct a movie, and clearly Manos was the result of that. And Ed Wood. Ed Wood, several times over, kept trying to make movie after movie after movie. A lot of them were bad, and then after a while he just stopped giving a shit, and Ed Wood eventually passed away with the last few titles to his name being a bunch of sleazy 70s pornos. But this one movie, we will probably never ever know the true intentions that went into After Last Season. I also did some minor research. Apparently this movie was shown in one theater total. One theater, it eventually went to DVD, And it was one of those things where you have to buy it off a website that the guy who made the movie created, and it was probably really overpriced so that that way he could make a profit back on selling DVDs of what is now considered one of the worst movies ever made. It's one of those. Among a lot of us movie buffs and cinephiles out there, we like to call this the Neil Breen effect. The movie starts to become somewhat coherent when we start focusing on this one guy and this one girl who, for the sake of brevity, I don't remember their names. I'm just going to call them Rod and Natalie, which that was the name of the characters from Birdemic, because they look like them and they almost act like them too. So I'm just going to call them that for the remainder of the video. So Rod and Natalie are working at this facility as interns, and they find out that there's this technology that's being tested where it can help people with telepathy, like help people communicate through each other's thoughts or something like that. So after a bunch of dicking around for a little bit, we then get this weird scene where they are walking into the facility like late at night when no one's around. They go up to a wall with no door, and then the movie jump cuts, and then they're all of a sudden inside. Oh, and that's another thing I almost forgot to mention. If it isn't that, just like Manos the Hands of Fate, lots of scenes of people just looking at the wall or the ceiling or out a window, something like that. They'll usually just cut to a bunch of prolonged shots of nothing happening to try and get the thing to feature length. So they get inside the facility, they put chips on their forehead, and then we get a solid 30 minutes of like screensaver footage. You know how you have screensavers from like the 90s and the 2000s where it's a shape that will bounce back and forth, and they would occasionally like morph from like a ball to like a triangle to a square? Yeah, it's pretty much that for 30 minutes. No sound, no background noise. It's just watching a bunch of this like test animation footage for 30 minutes. If you somehow haven't turned the movie off by that point, here's how the movie starts to wrap up. Natalie imagines that there's a killer that's going to kill somebody, and we get a terrible, like what looks like Roblox level animation of this happening in slow motion. Then they get attacked by like a ghost or a spirit or something, because then they start to feel pain like stabbing in their legs and in their hands, and then it turns out, oh, it was all a dream. Yeah, Rod was just dreaming it. A real killer shows up. They at least give this guy the common courtesy to show him walking through a door from the outside of the building to the inside, unlike our main characters, I think. But then he gets stopped by the ghost, who throws a chair at him, which knocks him out, and then the ghost talks to Rod and Natalie for a little bit. And then we cut to much later after this has happened, and we see that Natalie is now a doctor, working at that facility from the beginning where they were doing the MRI scan. And then the movie just ends with these two random people we have never seen before talking about their apartment.
We have a room next to the living room.
Not even like the women from earlier in the movie who were hanging out in that apartment slash hallway slash factory basement slash whatever it was. No, the movie just goes Shark Exorcist all of a sudden, and we focus on some random people we've never seen talking about nothing, just stupid mundane crap, and then the movie ends. This movie really is an anomaly in So Bad It's Good movies. Would I recommend people who are into film and filmmaking watch this? Sure, yeah, I would recommend people watch it just out of sheer morbid curiosity. And you know what? If people would turn it off halfway through because they couldn't sit through it, I wouldn't even blame them. So much nothing happens in this movie that it's not even engaging whatsoever. At least Manos the Hands of Fate, you could always fall back on quoting the Mystery Science Theater riff track of it. But this is like, there's almost nothing to it. I mean, I really don't know what to say. Is the production bad? Yes, it's very cheap. They film a hospital set in what looks like a guest room with like bright pink walls and a CAT scan machine that looks like it was made out of cardboard boxes and paper. And the CG animation in this is on par with those 90s and 2000s screensavers of shapes morphing while they bounce from one angle of the screen to the next. I've said this before on so many other occasions, but like there's like a variety of different So Bad It's Good types of movies out there. First, you got the movies that are supposed to be bad. They're intentionally silly. Movies like Killer Clowns or Thanksgiving, Jack Frost, stuff like that. And then you got the movies where they wanted to make a good movie, and because of how much they failed, that's what makes it funny. Stuff like The Room, Birdemic, Flying Ryan, Amazing Bulk, stuff like that. Then you got movies like this where you don't know what the intention was. It's just this confusing bad movie experience that you'd recommend people watch just out of sheer morbid curiosity, but it's not really like funny bad. It's not like they intended it to be bad, at least not from what we can gather. The only other movies I had this experience with was Amazing Bulk and Shark Exorcist, and I slowly but surely worked my way into liking Amazing Bulk with how stupid it is. There is like a so bad it's good charm, especially in the ending chase scene, which is amazing. And then Shark Exorcist is just absolutely awful. It's absolute trash. It's low, it's pathetic, it's scummy, and it's like I can't tell if the guy was just trying to make a crappy shark movie and wanted to profit off of that, or if he just wanted to make some kind of sick fetish film that he could spank it to in his off time. I don't know what the point of that movie was. And same thing with this. I don't know what the point of this was. Was this just an elaborate way to like Andy Kaufman the audience, like a way to like just troll the people watching it? Or was this intended to be a good film that just got lost in translation? In a way, it's the most confusing bad movie I've ever sat through. Like I said, it's on YouTube. I'd recommend people watch it if you're really into filmmaking and you want to see how bad a movie can be. Then yeah, sure, watch After Last Season. But if you want a genuinely good movie experience, no, don't watch it. The production is bad, the acting is bad, it's boring as hell. It's the kind of thing that I wouldn't recommend just average moviegoers or people who just want to have an average movie night to watch. Watch something that's actually a movie. But if you're into like so bad they're good movies, or just interested with filmmaking and you want to see how bad a movie can be, then yes, look up After Last Season on YouTube. So guys, that wraps up the Blockbuster videos for February. As for next month, in March, I'm probably going to be doing 2 or 3 videos. We'll see how busy the schedule is. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of the Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.
My hometown is near Maryland.
Oh, yeah, I've never been to that town, but I've been through it.